Hi folks, so we're getting towards the end of the course. This is in fact the last new piece of content that we need to cover before we start doing some revision, okay? Hopefully you're going to be back in school within the next 2 weeks and then we can really focus on getting you ready for this May exam. I don't feel like we've lost that much, the fact that you've not been in, because the topics have been straightforward. If you've been really engaging with the videos I've been making and doing the work properly, then hopefully these quite straightforward topics, leadership, entrepreneurship, business objectives that we're going to look at today, and the end of motivation is pretty straightforward. Okay, so once we get in, we will refresh those topics really fast, and then, like I said, we'll go through some Unit 1 revisions, so going all the way back to marketing, having a look at all the past papers, and just getting you ready as you can. Okay, but I don't think it's going to be a massive loss that we've lost these 2-3 weeks. Not lost them, but not been in school. Okay, so let's finish up. I want to keep this video quite short today. So we've got 2 topics left. They're very straightforward. I do feel like the last few topics in this course are quite straightforward. Obviously, you still need to be able to write good AO3 and AO4 about them. Anyway, let's get started. So what I want you to do first off then, little thinking question: what is the aim of most businesses? Okay, so what is the primary objective, the primary aim of most businesses? Okay, so today we're looking at business objectives, so different types of objectives a business may have. It doesn't really fit in with marketing or HR. They've just kind of latched it on the end of this HR topic. It doesn't really fit with the theme, but it's there, so we need to cover it. So hopefully, going back to the starter question then, what is the aim of most businesses? I'm sure you were thinking money, cash, profit, wealth, something to do with finance and profits, okay? So we can be a bit more precise and say that actually most businesses are profit maximizers. I'm sure this is a term you might have come across if you're an economist, the idea of maximizing profit. It's basically producing at that optimum level of output, so producing as many units as you can before you start to experience diseconomies of scale, in order to maximize the gap, the difference between total cost and total revenue. So it's where the gap between them is at its largest. So basically, average cost is at its lowest and price is at its highest, because remember, revenue is price times quantity. So that price and average cost, the difference between them is at its maximum. So therefore, we're going to make the most margin and the most profit from each unit. Okay, so pretty straightforward. Most private businesses' main objective is to maximize profits in order to retain as much profit as possible, to grow the business, and also to pay dividends to the shareholders to keep investors happy, okay? But there are other objectives that a business may have. So I've got a further 6. I'm sure you can think of some other objectives. So pause the video for a second. What do you think I've got behind these green circles? Please have a think before you watch the video, so you're not just copying off my slides. Okay, let's have a look then. So growth, that's obviously going to help you to maximize your profits, but you might sacrifice short-term profits in order to reinvest and grow the business for long-term prosperity. Okay, so you might be willing to sacrifice short-term profits in order to grow the business in the long term. So obviously that could be the growth of buildings, the growth of product range, the growth into foreign markets, the growth of domestic markets, diversification, external mergers, anything like that, okay? Survival or liquidity. So I'm guessing a lot of businesses in Hong Kong at the minute are just trying to stay liquid. They're just trying to survive, because obviously they're going to be struggling with the protests, the recession, and now the virus. A lot of businesses will not try to grow. They'll not try to maximize profits. They will be simply trying to survive. Okay, so that just getting people in the doors, maybe offering promotions, just doing something to keep cash flow coming in order to survive this difficult time for businesses. Customer satisfaction could be an objective, so maybe in the service sector, so in hospitality, restaurants and hotels. Lowering costs, obviously that's highly connected to maximizing profits, but yeah, maybe costs are getting out of control, maybe supplies have gone up, suppliers are increasing their prices. So yeah, you might have an objective of trying to lower your costs. Increase your market share, so increasing sales to have a bigger part of the market. That's going to make your product more inelastic and give you more price setting power. Or maybe CSR, okay, so corporate social responsibility. So let's dig a little deeper into CSR. Interesting, that circle came back. So CSR, what do we know about this term so far? Have a look at this image, have a think, corporate social responsibility. If you had to take a guess, what do you think that could mean? Okay, so CSR, corporate social responsibility, is said to operate when a business decides to go beyond the law and go beyond what's expected of them to create this profit, to create wealth in ways that minimize damage to society and the environment. Okay, so they are still profit maximizers, they're not a charity, they're not even a social enterprise, but they are deliberately putting actions in place to minimize their damage on the rest of society and the environment. So all businesses, or a lot of businesses nowadays, are putting increasing importance on CSR. So a little task here, what I'd like you to do is pause the video and have a look at some large multinational companies, your Adidas, your Nikes, your whoever it might be, and find out what are they doing in terms of CSR. Okay, so what kind of things are they doing? Do they seem to be investing a lot of time and energy into it? Like how much are they writing on their websites? What kind of things are they doing? Does it look like they're investing a lot of time into CSR? And then why do you think they are investing all this time and money and energy into CSR and then really publishing it online, devoting whole sections of their website to it? So about 15 minutes, that's what we would do if we're in class. Have a look at two or three examples and try and answer these 3 questions relating to each business. Okay, so what might CSR look like? Hopefully you've had a look at a few examples. So it could be to do with recyclable materials. So maybe an objective could be decrease the use of plastic by 75% in the next 6 months. Maybe sustainable or renewable sources. That could be another type of objective. Maybe labour work, something to do with workers. So ensure the business pays 15% above the national minimum wage by the end of the financial year. Or maybe ensure safe working practices in factories offshore. A lot of businesses have received a lot of criticism for working conditions in China and developing countries, so maybe that could be an objective. Or maybe something to do with climate change, so decrease CO2 output by 50% by 2022. Okay, so these are the type of things they might be doing. They could also be setting up charities, giving things to developing countries, things like that as well. So we've got a load of statements here. So what I'd like you to do next is arrange these into 2 columns. Okay, so these are positives and negative statements to do with CSR as an objective or putting energy into CSR. So what I'd like you to do is arrange these boxes, copy them out, and arrange them into 2 rows. 2 columns, sorry. Okay, so hopefully you've done that. If you haven't, pause the video and do so. So let's arrange these and you can check them off. So let's create a bit of space here. So businesses, make a bit of space. Okay, so workers may feel happier in their jobs and less likely to leave. That's of course an advantage. I'm going to put the advantage on this side, disadvantage on the other. So if a worker is working for a socially responsible business, they're going to be proud of who they work for, they're less likely to leave, they might even be receiving higher wages and better benefits as part of the CSR, so they're less likely to leave. Customers and workers may see it as cynical and not genuine, damaging their reputation. Okay, that's obviously a disadvantage. So by that I mean some workers and consumers might think the business is just doing it as a branding exercise. They're only investing in CSR because they want to put it in their brand, they want to put it on their website, and therefore it's not genuine. And that's going to hurt the brand even more and not be seen as a genuine action. The business may be more likely to gain government grants. Obviously, that's an advantage. So the government is not going to associate themselves with unethical businesses. So you're more likely to get a grant or maybe a government contract. So if you're a builder and the government is outsourcing production of something, if you can prove you use sustainable concrete, you can use you're going to create a green building, then you're more likely to gain that contract or that business. A better reputation may lead to higher sales and brand loyalty. Obviously, that's an advantage. So yeah, if you can prove that you are organic or free range or plastic free or something like that, then that's going to help you to increase your brand and possibly have more loyal customers, more inelastic demand. Therefore, you can raise prices and try and bring back some of the higher costs that CSR usually brings in. Some customers don't care, so it might be a waste of time. Yep, a lot of customers are price sensitive, particularly low-income customers are more likely to be price sensitive, so they don't really care where their products are coming from, who made their products. You've just got to look at the kind of fast fashion trend of companies like Primark and H&M to a certain extent, using really energy-intensive, unethical working practices, and yet Primark and H&M sell thousands or millions of items of clothes every year. Okay, so some customers just don't care. They're not interested in it. Although I do think that is changing somewhat as social media and things publicize climate change and energy usage and unethical working practice in developing countries. It may be easy to recruit. Yep, so very similar to the first point up here. It might be easy to recruit, so it might be easier to get workers if you can prove you're an ethical company. Businesses can use it as part of their marketing and unique selling point. Yep, some businesses' entire business model and brand is ethical. So companies like Lush, everything's organic, everything's vegan, everything's handmade. That's their entire company ethos, isn't it? It's their entire company culture. It often increases costs, so that's the big disadvantage, isn't it? That if you're going to be a socially responsible company, you're normally going to have higher costs. Okay, there's going to be a premium of being a socially responsible company. And it may avoid expensive legal cases and being sued. Yep, so if you're going beyond the law, then there's no chance of breaking the law, is there? If you're deliberately going above and beyond, then you're not going to be breaking the law. Okay, so hopefully you arrange those. It's not quite balanced, is it? I've got, 6 and 3, but that cost one is a major one, isn't it? That's such a major pointer that if you're going to increase wages, use sustainable materials, source products locally and materials locally, then that's going to increase your costs a lot. Maybe you could argue that's going to be outweighed by the increase in price you could charge, but that really depends. Okay? So, last little bit to finish up. As you can see, I've only got a couple of slides left for today, is this idea of opportunity cost, which did appear on the previous task when we were talking about entrepreneurs' opportunity costs. So again, economists will know this. It is the next best alternative forgone when a decision is made. So what does that actually mean? It means what's given up when a choice is made. So if you've got several options and you choose one, what you don't choose is your opportunity cost. So just a crude example here. So I could travel via MTR or Uber. I choose to travel by Uber. My opportunity cost is MTR. That's what I gave up when I made that decision. Okay, so final bit then, and I'm going to leave you to work on this and we'll talk about it in the Google Meet. So obviously businesses have opportunity costs all the time. So every single day, a business has to make opportunity costs. They have to give things up. So what I'd like you to do is make a list of examples of opportunity costs and choices and decisions and trade-offs. So a trade-off is very similar to an opportunity cost. It's what you give up. You can think about CSR, like we've just been talking about that. There's definitely trade-offs with CSR, so that's a good starting point. And then see if you can come up with another 5 or 6. And we'll share these in our Google Meet on Tuesday, I believe it'll be. Okay, so that has gone a bit longer than I was expected. I think that video is going to be a bit longer, but that's finished the course now. Okay, that's the end of new content. So have a look through the spec. In fact, let's have a quick look at the spec. So as you can see out there, this is a detailed spec guide. Let's go back to the overview one. So you can see what we've been doing recently. We kind of started home learning around this point, so financial methods to improve leadership, to improve motivation, sorry. Then we talked about leadership, different styles of leadership. Then we talked about entrepreneurs this week. And then finally, business objectives and business choices. Okay, so you can see that's the end of the spec there. Okay, so that's it. We've now finished Unit 2, finished the AS course. So now we can really focus in on revision and fine-tuning that exam technique and yeah, making sure you're ready for that May exam. Okay, hopefully you got this far into the video. That's something that YouTubers say, isn't it? And hopefully I'll see you within the next week or two. Okay.